So for those of you that have been following the football world, you know that a man was lost today, unfortunately, to the world of retirement. Not a bad way. He didn't pass away. He didn't do anything of that nature. But the sheriff, as folks have been calling him, Peyton Manning, has hung up his cleats for the last time. He's riding out of town with 2 Super Bowls under his belt, 2 rings, one for the Colts, one for the Broncos, and he is officially retiring. And who better to talk about the world of the NFL than a man who lives and breathes it on a daily basis? That would be Bleacher Report's David Kenyon. So, David, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad we can talk about the guy who won a Super Bowl as a baby horse and as an adult horse.
That's actually true. I didn't even realize that as soon as you said that, because I was like, yeah, he won with 2 horse-related teams, but I didn't even put the 2 connections together. Yeah, so there's a lot of different storylines that you could pull from this. So, Peyton Manning retiring, David. What were your initial thoughts and feelings as soon as you heard that he was officially doing it? Because we heard rumors about it for weeks, and now it is officially done.
A long time coming, that's for sure. I don't think anybody realistically expected him to come back. You heard some rumors, maybe like the Texans. There's no way he would have gone to the 49ers. I don't even know if that was a rumor, but who knows? It probably
Starting
was
the rumor
somewhere.
now. Goodness, now people are going to start talking.
I don't know, but anyway, if it wasn't going to be the Broncos, it just wasn't going to be anyone. That seemed pretty clear for a long time. And what was even clearer than that was the Broncos wanted to keep Brock Osweiler. Because his contract was up. And you're not going to try to keep Osweiler on an 8-figure-a-year deal while you have Manning come back. So it was coming, and it was the right time. His noodle arm couldn't take it anymore.
True. That is, yeah, I'm still a little concerned how he got through this last season, honestly. I mean, I know he didn't play most of the season, and maybe that's how he got through the season is because he only got to play, split the duties in that regards due to injuries and all that. So, you look at Peyton Manning, you look at his records. I mean, here's just a few fast facts about Peyton Manning. 54 game-winning drives, 539 touchdown passes, 5,477 yards back in that 2013 year during that single season. He also threw 55 touchdowns that year as well. He's had 14 4,000-yard seasons. He's thrown for almost 72,000 yards, and he's got 200 wins. And he's got 15 playoff appearances. That sounds like a trip to Canton, Ohio, in my book. Do you agree with me on that one?
I don't see how he makes it past the first ballot.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks would be a little shocked if he didn't get in right away.
Yeah, he's kind of like Brett Favre. We knew for 5 years from the moment he retired for the last time that 5 years from that moment he would be headed to Canton.
I mean, why not? He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He is a 5-time MVP award winner, 14-time Pro Bowler. He was the 2005 Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's won several first-team All-Pros. He was the Super Bowl. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl when he was there with the Colts. It's hard to argue against him. I mean, you can say what you want about his career declining towards the end there, the last year or two, but I think because he was able to still go out and pull off what he did in 2013, I think that really helped push him over the threshold, kind of saying, look, regardless of what he does from here on out, he's still an incredible quarterback, regardless of his age.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to make sure we mentioned was with that second Super Bowl, right now we look back at it and we're like, wow, man, that Denver defense carried Peyton that whole way. But just listening to some people yesterday about the report coming out that he was retiring officially, people are already remembering him as a guy who won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. Nobody even cares that the defense did it, but that's the thing. I'm not saying you need to discount Peyton Manning's legacy. I hate legacy talk. He's great. He's awesome. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer. But history doesn't remember. History doesn't care to remember how you won your Super Bowl. You just have to win a Super Bowl.
Exactly. I mean, how many people still are the fact that they're like, hey, Joe Flacco, he won a Super Bowl. And I honestly forget that Joe Flacco is a Super Bowl winning quarterback because, like him, on a lot of other teams, the defense or whoever else helped carry that. But Joe Flacco's legacy is that, hey, I'm a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You know, I mean, I've heard even for Trent Dilfer too, when he won a Super Bowl, it was like he wasn't that great of a quarterback at that time in his career, but he still has a Super Bowl ring and he won, so good for him, kind of a thing. So it's funny though. I mean, you could make arguments back and forth about, well, defenses, why don't the defenses get more? Well, unfortunately, the defenses aren't at the same level as what a quarterback is. The quarterback is the focal point of any team, regardless of how good or bad they are, because teams live and die by their quarterbacks as well. So you talk about Manning and him, winning a second Super Bowl, even though Von Miller and company definitely are the reason they won that Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, Manning's still going to get that extra boost of credit because he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the way we'll always hear him remembered as two-time Super Bowl champion. You won't hear a one-time Super Bowl champion who also won another when the defense was really good.
Exactly.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue.
It's a little harder to deliver. And I think that applies to a lot of other sports too, not to get off on too big of a tangent, but how many other times do you hear that on, teams where LeBron James, when he won his 2 NBA titles, like how many other times do you hear those other guys on, the Miami Heat there, whoever they are nowadays, saying, oh, I'm a 1 or a 2-time NBA champion? It's like, no, LeBron James is a 2-time NBA champion, and like, oh yeah, I guess Dwayne Wade was there too, and a couple other guys. I mean, I know Dwayne Wade carries a little bit more weight than some of those other guys on the team at that point, but there's a couple of guys out there that have got a ring or 2 or 3 or 4 that they're not big names, but they just happen to be on the team, but no one really cares because they weren't the focal point of that offense or the defense at that time.
That's just the way football works. You're going to hear about the quarterback first and foremost. It's his fault when they lose, but it's often somebody else their credit when they win initially, but then it's always remembered as the quarterback.
I love that. That's just how the sports world works, unfortunately. I mean,
we are very fickle.
We are. We really are. So with Manning retiring now and the NFL moving away from Peyton Manning, I mean, does it really affect the league that much going forward now? I mean, I know we're kind of seeing the last of a crucial brand of players with Manning and Brady and maybe a couple other guys too, but Manning and Brady were those 1-2 punch for so long that carried the NFL for so long. It's like it's Manning, Brady, whatever. So do we have a next generation now of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, even though Brady's still around and still playing at a very high level?
It's an interesting question. I definitely think you have to consider this the end of the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady era because they'll always be a thing.
They will,
for
yeah.
Sure. And so then, if you're looking for who are the next greatest ones, like what era are we looking at? Maybe that's the Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would make sense. And then following that, you're probably looking at the Cam Russ, and who knows, maybe the Bengals continue playing at this level, and we'll remember Dalton that way. But right now, it's Newton, Luck, Wilson, following the Rodgers, Big Ben.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, which is interesting, too, that you say Big Ben and Rodgers, because they haven't played a ton over their careers. But I mean, I know they've met in a Super Bowl, which is obviously very important, but that is interesting, though, that you make that comparison. I was trying to think, too. I was like, well, Aaron Rodgers would probably be one of the two guys, but couldn't think of who the other guy would be. So Roethlisberger, I think, definitely makes a good argument in that aspect of things.
Yeah, not necessarily as a rivalry. If you're looking more at that, I mean, well,
there's not much, unfortunately.
There's not much. You're probably hoping Cam and Russ turn into that.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's necessarily a Manning-Brady rivalry by any stretch of the imagination that's still in the league. Maybe Brady and Eli if you look at the Super Bowls, but that's...
Yeah. That's all I say. That, aside from that, though, they haven't really met a ton during their career. And I know this is a bit of a stretch, but if Colin Kaepernick had stayed at his same level of semi-decent, whatever he showed in the playoffs against Green Bay in those couple of games that they played each other, could a Kaepernick-Rodgers rivalry have been a thing, or is that too much of a stretch?
I think you look at a lot of what-ifs, and you could generate a rivalry from a lot of different things. I'd say that's probably a stretch.
Sure.
But for a while, it definitely looked like that would be an annual matchup.
It did, yeah, absolutely. And I think that was something that folks were really looking forward to, but I guess Colin Kaepernick never got that memo. So, all right, well, David, any other parting thoughts about the great gunslinger Peyton Manning before we got to let you run?
that I really do not care if you think he's the greatest quarterback or a top 5 or whatever. It's okay for him to be the greatest in your mind, and it's okay for Tom Brady to be the greatest in your mind, and it's okay for any other quarterback. It's just your personal ranking.
But the real...
Don't freak out. Peyton Manning was great.
He was, yes. He was a nice guy. But the real question, though, is, David, who's the best in your mind?
Tom Brady. He's got 4 rings.
Fair enough. And that's all I need from you.
I mean, Peyton Manning is a record holder in like every other category, and so I'm not saying Peyton Manning was bad.
Just Tom Brady's just a little bit better.
He just has the rings, and I'll take the rings.
That's perfectly fine in my book, too. Yeah, Tom Brady is definitely number 1 in my book as well. All right, Bleacher Report's David Kenyon. A pleasure as always, sir, and we look forward to your insights, not Thursday because you're off, but next Monday when you're back on the show.
Sounds good.
All right, enjoy your week, sir.